Next, Sean O'Malley. He
There
did
he
get
is.
the
Speak of the devil.
TKO over Raleigh and Paiva, also 4 minutes 42 seconds of round number one. And
Oh, it was.
I did not notice that when I
I
was
did not
typing
either.
it, so I hope that's correct. I hope I didn't accidentally look at the same time. Anyways, Dominic, this was we said coming in. A lot of people were kind of saying, "Oh, the UFC is putting Sean O'Malley up against another scrub,
Yeah.
another guy off the street." We were like, "Whoa, hold up there, partner. Raleigh and Paiva is a legitimate guy, considering the win he just had over Kyler Phillips this summer, and yes, he was a little underwhelming at flyweight, but has looked better since." I said a win over him is a real win for Sean O'Malley. Maybe the first real win of his career.
Yeah.
He's got some wins built up before, but as far as a win where a guy who was legitimately in the hunt, and he did it, he passed in flying colors. Obviously, he had the size advantage. Sean O'Malley's huge for this division.
Yeah.
Raleigh and Paiva coming up from flyweight, a bit on the smaller side. But it took a while for Sean to. I mean, really, the fight took a little longer, a little while, in round one to kind of get going.
Mm-hmm.
But once they started trading, I mean, Sean just lit him up. I mean, everything he threw had. I mean, Raleigh's head was snapping back, his head moving side to side. I mean, it was all of it, and he couldn't take too many before he was done. And yeah, Sean O'Malley probably going to earn a number next to his name with that win, and rightfully so, correct?
Oh, I mean, 100%. This kid's striking is next level for this division, which takes a lot to say when you look at the top of the crop, with Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, even TJ Joshua is a very good striker. Dominic Cruz got a big win with his striking that we'll talk about. But, man, Sean O'Malley's power and precision, technique, timing, combine all that, this dude's deadly. He does need to be in the top 15 now, and he needs to be launched in and tested with, dare I say, maybe a guy number 10 or above, honestly, because I think the UFC is going to want to begin capitalizing on this. Dana said, looks like we're going to have to start paying this kid and giving him the bigger fights. So those contract disputes that were rumored earlier this year, I don't think those are going to be brought up very much. I think Sean's going to get a pretty nice contract following this win. He's going to get a big fight, maybe against Cody. But regardless, he's a special talent. And really, it's hard for me to say he's like, oh, this guy's going to be a champion. He's going to fight for a title because this division is insane. Second best division in the UFC. But he can definitely make some noise and make a splash to get in there with some contenders.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This was the fight. I said if he won this, I would really be a believer in his potential as a title, how do I say this? I said if he won this fight and won it in the type of fashion that it ended up happening in, where it was one-sided and he looked like a star in the making, then I was going to really buy on Sean O'Malley future champion stock. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what this fight was kind of for me to really see. Now the question becomes, what does the UFC put him up against next? What's the plan going to be? What's the blueprint going to be for Sean O'Malley? Because we obviously want to see him get tested in certain areas. I would love to see him fight Gregor Gillespie, but it ain't going to happen.
Right.
But that's not me saying that I think the UFC is going to give him a favorable matchup. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to feed him to really the Achilles heel right away either.
Yeah.
So the question is going to become, who do they put him up against next? Cody Garbrandt seems like a very prime candidate. It's a guy who is struggling a lot with taking the punishment on the feet, having that striking defense, but also a former champion, someone who does have equalizing power and does at least have an ability to wrestle when he so chooses.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, at this point, maybe Cody's reputation's just too far down to even make that a viable matchup. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I'm very interested to see what the UFC kind of has in store for Sean O'Malley. How quickly is he going to get fast tracked? I would like to think next even though you mentioned like 10 or above, I could see him fighting someone within the back half of.
Still taking it kind of slow.
Yeah, I could even see him fighting, truthfully, people aren't going to like to hear it, but maybe an unranked fighter next, but still being someone credible, someone on the come up. I don't know. I'm just saying, kind of speculating. But
Can I get your thoughts on a matchup?
sure.
So our buddy, I was actually with Harry Bolzania watching these fights, believe it or not, and he was actually kind of on one with some like future fight ideas. I was impressed.
That's hey, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad a blind squirrel eventually catches
yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on this because he mentioned this one to me. What do you think about for Sean O'Malley next if it's not like Cody or something? He said he wants to see Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong next.
Harry,
two rising stars in that division. Song's now in the rankings again, 23 years old. I can't say that didn't tickle my fancy a little bit.
God, you say that so much. It creeps me out every time. Harry, I think that was a good pick there, pal. I like that. Yeah, no doubt. I think there's a lot of fun matchups for Sean if they really want to test him out truly in his top 15. But yeah, I'll be curious to see kind of what at what speed they really push him along.
I agree.
I also realize I probably should have been more clear. I realized I said Gregor Gillespie, who's a 155 pounder.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I was just like,
I just mean the style,
the type. Yes, the type of fighter.
I meant to like say that after saying it, and then we started talking, and I'm like, oh fuck, people are gonna think Gregor Gillespie's a bantamweight. But I just mean a grapple heavy.
You're right.
Someone who's really gonna try to push to not keep it standing with Sean.
Yeah.
I just don't think the UFC is probably gonna give him that kind of matchup next. But
yeah,
who knows? It's such a loaded division that, I mean, he doesn't have much wiggle room before he's truly being like in the deep end.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Especially with the star power, because that just kind of nudges you quicker, than others. So,
yeah. Heavyweights. Tai Tuivasa gets the knockout, the Shoey over Augusto Sakai, 26 seconds of round number 2. Round 1, that was, it was what it was. Not a ton of action, but it was kind of the Sakai fight that I don't want to shit on Sakai. I know he just got knocked out. I've been so underwhelmed with Sakai from the fights that we've really seen. He's a guy that, for as big and strong and powerful as he is, so inactive. Just kind of, and I mean, it's worked for him. He's gotten some wins, but it's very clear that he's going to have to change some things up, because even though round 1 was more his fight, where it was a little more tentative, a lot of clinching going on, still would have said Tuivasa was getting the better of pretty much any exchange that was had, even in the clinch. So then round number 2 starts, and Tai was able to actually have some distance between them, and I mean, just throwing some bombs, and
his power, man. Yeah.
That's all she wrote. And I have to agree with Tuivasa and his at the post-fight presser, or his post-fight presser, because he was interviewed before the post-fight press. You know how it works.
Yeah.
He had some beef with one of the crew members, and I have to agree. I was watching him. I walked back, and I'm like, oh, this man's about to do like 10 shoeys. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And this dude is like pushing him out of the fucking arena. I'm like, what?
Really? I didn't even pay attention.
Well, he kept trying to like he did one on his way out. And then he would try to like get another one. And the guys behind him like I mean, really trying to force him out of the arena. And he
Oh,
said that apparently he went off on the guy backstage.
good.
So he
That's
kind of
literally part of Tai Tuivasa's character.
I guess it's a guy that doesn't. He said he didn't work for the UFC, but like, so he probably didn't know like what the shtick.
Yeah.
He's like, I apologize. He's like, come on. He's like, come on, bro.
Yeah, he's like, they say, let me bang, bro. Ty's like, let me drink, bro.
Yeah. He's like, come on, bro. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
The Shoey on top of the cage, by the way, pretty dope. Badass.
Did you see the guy in the crowd who did one, but instead of doing like drinking it, he just basically
threw it all over
doused himself in it?
I'm like, bro, you have to sit through the rest of the prelims and the whole main card doused in beer, like your whole outfit. Win in Vegas, right?
That was the tweet I was going to say I saw from Ariel Helwani. He said, imagine doing that and then realizing you have to sit there for 5 more hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with like the guy like at the last fight who gave up his shoe for him to drink out of. You got to walk around with wet foot.
Oh,
wet
there's nothing worse than moist socks.
And the one guy had hot sauce, dusted hot sauce poured in it.
I'll never forget that one, man.
So that's even worse. You got to walk around with some stinky, wet feet for the rest of the day.
Hey, man, why we're talking about Shoeys, what is this actual ceiling for Tai Tuivasa?
That's a great question, Dominic, because we obviously love the guy. We obviously are really buying it. I think what's shown kind of crazy. This fight was supposed to be on a fight night, by the way, at the Apex.
Yeah.
Tuivasa should never fight without a crowd ever.
No, never. He can come to Columbus if he wants. You might give him your shoe.
Come on, bro. But the ceiling of Tuivasa, that's so interesting, Dominic, because he's kind of a prototypical heavyweight, right?
Yeah.
He's big, powerful hands and a big dude. He throws some really nice leg kicks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything he throws is with a ton of power. But I would say in comparison to a lot of his cohorts at heavyweight, he doesn't get as fatigued by throwing. Like some guys, it's just like they throw themselves out within a round. He's able to kind of keep a pace a little bit more than the average heavyweight. Again, not great cardio by any means, but worth noting. I want to believe that like we can just keep riding this wave.
Yeah.
But there is a ceiling. I mean, I don't think I can realistically say I think Tai Tuivasa is a champion level fighter. I don't think I can say, like, I can't see him fighting Ciryl Gane, Francis Ngannou.
Imagine the scenes, though, if Tai Tuivasa ever has a belt and a shoey. Woo!
So, can he compete with the like, I think he can. I would love, actually, the fight I want to see next is him versus Marcin Tybura.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's so like that. Those guys at the back half of the top 10, that's what's next for him. Can he compete with like an Alexander Volkov or Curtis Blade's probably a bad matchup for him.
Him and Volkov was interesting.
Volkov is interesting because really Volkov should win that fight. But we know Volkov sometimes he just doesn't really show up.
Like finds way to lose almost.
Yeah, he finds way. Honestly, I mean, even like the win against Greg Hardy, it's like that's the most competitive Greg Hardy's looked in a loss in the UFC. You look at every other loss he's had, he's kind of got starched in.
Including by Tai Tuivasa. Yeah,
so I don't know how far he can truly take it, but I don't know if it matters. I mean, he's truly got some star potential at this point.
Oh, everybody loves this guy.
At least, like, I'm not saying he's ever going to be a guy that you're going to be like, oh, Tai Tuivasa's fighting tonight, I'm buying the pay-per-view. But he's at least a guy where you buy the pay-per-view and you go, oh, shit, Tai Tuivasa's fighting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool that him and Sean O'Malley both on the same night had huge performances and huge, these are the future. These younger guys, they're still that new wave. So them together, and I think they were together in July on the same card too. So let's keep just putting them together on the same card, these two young stars potentially, and they're winning, and they're different, but the fans love both of them. You know, Sean has more of like a love-hate, I guess, with fans. Tai, I don't know if there's one person that doesn't like this guy. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
you asked if he should be in our MMA version of Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly.
Basketball gets LeBron James. MMA gets Tai Tuivasa.
That tells you what I think about the guy.
Now, I'm curious. I'm going to do the reverse Uno and ask you the question you asked me. What is Tai Tuivasa's ceiling?
I do think, you know, him and Marcin Tybura, for example, I think that's a fight he can go in there and win. His power, his patience, you know, so long as he doesn't like get grappled. How would he fare with Marcin Tybura if he gets grappled? Curtis Blades if he gets grappled, which you know that's the ultimate thing. Him and Volkov. I think out of those three names, two of the three, I think he does stand a really good chance. Can he beat Curtis Blades? I mean, yeah, he can always catch him, but Curtis is just that guy for everyone, though, right? Like, even for, I love Tom Aspinall, but I'm saying, oh shit, if he fights Curtis Blades, that's a hard fight. There's just something about Curtis Blades and his grappling that's so different because you don't see wrestlers at heavyweight. You just don't for whatever reason.
Like, is it wrong to say that I feel like if Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis fought 100 times, Curtis Blades would win more than he would lose?
No, I think that's completely fair.
Even though, obviously, when it happened, Derek Lewis caught him with an amazing uppercut and it was awesome. But, I mean, imagine Derek Lewis fighting Tai Tuivasa. I mean, if Derek Lewis loses on Saturday, I could
it's not out of the realm of
that might be next. So, if long as Dominic doesn't steal it from me anyways. So,
yeah.
Moving on. No, I really think that I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. But it feels almost like we just need to appreciate it while we have it right now. While the iron is hot, while everybody's like really behind him and kind of loving this weird shoey thing that's so gross but fun to watch.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like a weird thing where we just need to kind of appreciate it while it's here and hope that it doesn't like crash and burn.
Right. Yeah. He may or may not be able to make one big splash in those contenders. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.